Hey there, everybody. Making another video. It appears that my previous video, I've already had a few comments. It seems that clearly I don't make very good videos. And I will not disagree with this, as this is not something I regularly do. I do not have the capability to go out and make fancy videos and do editing and go take pictures of this guy on a regular basis and kind of edit together to show this stuff. So I drew this out, because to me it's about just trying to get the information of the observations out there, not trying to make the video fancy. It's a very short video. It's simply just trying to get what I have observed in reality out to flat earthers. And this is mainly just for flat earthers, and this is because the majority of flat earthers have a theory about the moon, that the moon creates its own light, that the moon is a separate light source from the sun. And some flat earthers will then recite biblical scripture saying that God created two lights, the main light during the day and the lesser light during the night. Well, I guess what my challenge here is to flat earthers is that I'm going to tell you what I've seen in reality or observations of reality, and I'm asking you to come back and let me know how you can still claim that the moon is making its own light when observations show otherwise. And so if you disagree with my observations, then I guess my challenge is to then tell me how I am wrong, how this is incorrect, how my observations do not lead to the idea that I came with, or the thought process that I'm getting from observations. And so, since that's flat earth theory, the moon makes its own light, that the light coming off of the moon is a cold light. Just like the sun is a hot light, the moon is a cold light. This is also something that is not seen in observations. And I've been observing the sky and the moon for over 3 years now. So this means going out regularly and seeing where the moon is, what moon phase it is. It's also looking at the temperature of the day, looking at the temperature for the night, seeing how the moon's light affects the weather, trying to compare and contrast whether, okay, if it's this moon phase, what's the temperature going to be like? What's the weather going to be like? What's it going to be like in a few days? And I've noticed that their claims do not match up with what we observe in reality. And so I will start off with simply the moon phases change throughout the year. And so I try to draw this a little better, that, if we're looking out to the east, where the moon comes up, and you got the north this way, south that way. So we'll stay with just the full moon, try to make this quick and, simple. So as the sun pretty much makes the same cycle as the moon, but it takes a whole year to do it, whereas the moon does it in a month. Well, now, when the sun is up towards the north during the summertime, we will have full moon come out on this cycle of the moon. So the moon has, the 29-day cycle that it completes and repeats every month. Well, the moon phases change which day of that cycle that they come out on, is what I'm trying to say. So during the summertime, the moon that comes out over in this area is likely to be the full moon. Well, as the moon or the sun moves outwards, it is going to change which moon will be the full moon. This also means that all the other moon phases will then also change when they come out too. And so this is pointing to the fact that as the sun changes where it is changing when the certain moon phases come out. This is apparent, or this would lead somebody to believe that the light of the moon is coming from the sun, because the moon phases are directly what's the word? Can't even think. But are you kidding me? Sorry about that. Pause it for a second. But anyway, we can see how the moon phases are directly affected by the changing of the sun's position in the sky. Now, if the moon was making its own light, there's no reason that the moon phases should be affected by where the sun is in the sky. Now, flat earthers will also claim that because the lit side of the moon does not line up to where the sun is in the sky. So if you take the lit side versus the dark side that we can see, the side facing us, and you then draw a straight line to the sun, most of the time it will either veer off south of the sun or veer off north of the sun. There are times it will line directly right up to the sun. I tried to explain this to some flat earthers that it's a perspective issue, that it's a form of optical illusion, that with the sky, when you watch the sky, it presents itself as it has an arc to it, as if there's an arc in the sky. So if you were to watch airplanes come across the sky, leaving, condensation trails, chemtrails, plane trails, whatever you want to call them, trails in the sky, they have an apparent arc to them. If you then get yourself a straight edge and hold it up in the air and line it up with this chemtrail, you will see that it perfectly lines up with your straight edge. But as soon as you pull the straight edge away, it still has an apparent arch to it. So this would be an optical illusion. It's not really arched. It just appears arched. Same is going on with the moon and the sun. That just because the sun and the moon appear to be in a certain location with our eyes, that in reality they are both up in the same level of atmosphere or in the firmament or wherever they are. They're both up in the same area. And so we have to get rid of this optical interference of the atmosphere to then understand that it is more likely that the lit side is just lining up with the sun. We can't take the sun and moon that we're seeing in the atmosphere as being the actual sun and moon. During solar eclipses, or the one that I saw the last 2 years ago, I witnessed the sun being eclipsed, and then there was a smaller sun that was to the right and a little bit up from the larger sun. I've also went and watched several of these go fast rockets where they go up high in the atmosphere, and they go up there and they spin and they take recordings of the Earth up there. We see the sun and the moon, and optically they appear very tiny. And if we're then to connect to that with the idea that the atmosphere has a lot of moisture in it, we're not really sure what layer or what the layer that the sun and the moon is sitting in is composed of. And so I am suggesting that the sun and moon that we see is like a form of hologram, that it is projecting itself onto the atmosphere, the same as if you were swimming in the water and you were under the water with your eyes open. You look up to the surface of the water, and if there's a light source there, you will actually see the light source on the surface of the water, when in reality the light source is not on the water, it is up wherever the light source is. So I fully feel that this is what's happening with the sun and the moon in the sky. So I think that this also affects the lit side of the moon lining up with the sun. But anyway, I believe there is enough observational evidence that would point more to the fact that the sun is directly responsible for the moon phases. Now, just because the lit side of the moon does not always line up with where the sun is, does not mean the moon is making its own light. I've also noticed that the moon is possibly a ball, some kind of sphere, that during a waxing crescent moon up to a waxing half moon, you will see the lit side and the dark side of the moon showing or indicating to me that the back side of the moon is being lit up, allowing us to see both sides of the moon. As for the cooling effect of the light, so the way I've gone against this one is the fact that the light of the moon does not always affect the cooling of the moon. There are times when we have like a new moon phase, which we just recently had, where like down in Texas, they have all this freezing weather. We had several inches of snow here in my area, and if I remember right, a good portion of the country had a lot of snow during that period of time. Now, being a new moon phase means that there is zero moonlight being reflected or aimed toward the earth or the world. So that would be that, according to flat earth theory, that should be the warmest time, that the least amount of cooling effect is happening. And so it was kind of suspicious that we had such cold weather during a new moon phase, when, according to what flat earth is saying, or some, not all, that the full moon should always be the coldest moon, which is not usually the case. The case is when the moon is directly over your location is more likely when you're going to get the greatest cooling effect from the moon. And just like a fire, the light of the fire is not what is creating the heat. The fire itself produces heat. So we are misconnecting two different things. The light of the moon, just because it happens to hit the same areas that the moon affects, does not then mean that the light is responsible for the cooling effect. We're going to have to do longer observations to then actually get to better conclusions. You can't go out and just spend a few nights and think, oh yeah, that's what it's doing. Yeah, if you do short-term observations, you're likely going to come to the wrong conclusions. Like I said, I've been at this for over 3 years now, and I continue to watch the sky. I continue to watch how the moon and sun affect the weather. I've also started to think there might be a other object up there that also does like a cooling effect, such as the moon, because there are times that the moon is nowhere to be found, and you can feel the cooling effect that comes off the moon. So there is possible, I'm not saying it is, but it's possible there might be another object up there that we cannot see whatsoever. I'm hoping that this better explains what I've been trying to say on my other videos. I do apologize for the jumpiness. I apologize for the lack of quality in my videos, as again, this is not what I do regularly. I am simply trying to get this information out to more intelligent people to then run with this information. But I also would expect that people to go out and observe this for themselves and not just take what I say, what a science says, or anybody says. Go out and observe this for yourself and go see what reality presents to you. Because all of the proof that we need about the world and where we live and kind of what it's doing is all right out there to be seen. You just have to spend the time looking. I want to thank you guys for even bothering to check out my video and posting comments. I'll try to get reply when I can. YouTube doesn't really tell me when a response comes in. So in between doing projects that I do artwork, but in between that, I'll try to get back to you guys. So again, thanks for taking the time to watch. Let me know what you think. Hopefully I'll get some attention of some real flat earthers or more flat earthers. All right, thank you.